how I'm still actively in process of healing what's within me so that I have more capacity to be for my children, so that they can be themselves without fear of repercussion. Hi, my name is Becky Jennings, and this is the Responsible Parenting Podcast. I give you the transformational tools to stop reacting to your children in the moment and start responding with intention. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Responsible Parenting. My name is Becky Jennings, and today I am diving further into my Telluride trip with my parents. Oh, yes. This has given me a lot of insight into some of my own past patterns and childhood belief systems, and it has continued to spark endless debate on my Instagram page about childhood beliefs. And what I'm realizing is it has a lot more to do with our upbringing than it does about whether or not my child was being loud in the game Floor is Lava. So let me dive in a little bit more onto that trip and some more insights that I uncovered about it. So in the previous episode, I believe it was episode 14, I spoke about this childhood belief systems and how they kind of rear their ugly heads in moments of chaos with our own children, and how we do this weird thing where we basically overlay our childhood experience onto the present moment, and how it all comes spewing out and we react in a way that might not be the direction that we're heading, and it might not be our choice and our like conscious choice of how we're trying to show up as parents. But without even knowing, in like a split second, we are reacting from a way that maybe we were reacted to as a child, and it can really throw us, and it can send us into a spiral of guilt and frustration and kind of second guessing whether or not we're actually on the right path or doing the right thing. So I want to share more about some dots that I have connected from this trip. And one of those specific dots was when I was packing at the very end of the trip, and I was very frustrated. I had pretty much hit my wits' end of what I could tolerate. And my executive functioning was completely offline. I was fully responding from my very primitive state. And I am throwing my clothes into the suitcase. I am generally an organized packer. I love a good packing cube, but in this instance, I was just hauling off and like hucking clothes into the suitcase, and there was no rhyme or reason to it. And I'm visibly angry, and I am just taking all of this out on the clothes and in my suitcase. And my dad comes down and he checks on me, and I'm ranting, and I'm yelling, and I'm saying all this stuff about my child, and I'm basically doing like a pretty good job of assassinating his character, and my dad's doing a good job listening to me and validating my experience. And I realize in this moment, after a lot of reflection, that what I was doing in the moment was basically saying to my dad, without saying it, "Hey, Dad, look over here. My son's the problem. He's the X factor. He's this external force that has come in, and he has disrupted the whole thing. But look over here. I'm still good, right? I'm still a good daughter. I'm still this shiny thing that you can praise and love and accept. He's the problem, not me. He's the problem." And so what I was doing in the moment was actively trying to preserve the connection with my father versus maintaining and preserving the connection with my son. That the childhood belief systems within me that bubbled up within me were taking over and overriding my circuitry and saying, your number one focus is preserve the attachment with your dad. I'm realizing this now. And it took a lot to realize that this has been a deeply rooted belief system in me for a very long time. I was and still am, a pastor's daughter. And a lot of growing up in that lens and from that space, it's not a very non-judgmental space. your performance, your behavior, your morality, your personality is always in question. It's always being viewed and judged. And my performative goodness was a direct reflection of my father's goodness as a pastor. So it was kind of part of our job as kids to maintain this visual level of excellence and maintain this level of goodness, because when we did, that reflected on my father. And I didn't realize as a kid that this was even going on, but the more I unpack it as an adult, it didn't leave a lot of room for human growth and human error. And so a lot of my value and most of my worth and value was wrapped up in the perception of other people. So if other people viewed me as good, I must be good. If other people found me valuable, I must be valuable. I did not have the inner knowing of whether or not I was valuable or not. So, one of the largest cycles that I'm trying to break is that you don't have to perform goodness in order to be good. And my children and the way that they are acting has nothing to do with my internal goodness. Their behavior is not a reflection of me, my worth, and my value. And that is a deep undoing. And so, in the comment thread of this video that has continued to spiral, where I was just sharing how this childhood belief system bubbled up into the present moment and it kind of spewed out into everything, that this question of whether or not I, in fact, am doing a good job raising respectful children allowed me. So, thank you, all of the people who jumped into the comments and eviscerated me. What you were able to do, and what I have been able to learn from those comments, is that this is actually a bigger societal thing than just me being a pastor's daughter and my goodness being reflected out and that performance shining brightly onto my dad's goodness. This is like an umbrella of external validation and external judgments proving something, proving your value, proving your worth. I had a lot of older moms jump on and talk about how they have raised perfectly good children in authoritarian fashions and they turned out fantastic, which just shows me that's a very defensive statement and you're protecting parts of your body. I get it. I never heard from those kids. Never once. I never heard from the children of those parents saying, yeah, I felt great. I still feel great. In fact, I had quite literally the opposite, almost one for one. If a parent came on saying, I was an authoritarian and I raised my children exactly like this and they are perfect. And then I would have another person come on and say, I was raised by an authoritarian and now I have no contact. I was raised by an authoritarian and now I'm 40 and I'm still deeply undoing these wounds. And so I realized that these childhood belief systems are so ingrained within our value, our merit, our goodness, and our worthiness to be seen, heard, and understood, which is all we ever want, which is all we ever wanted from our parents. And I realized that with my own children, all they want is to be seen for who they are. They're not problems that need to be fixed. They're not something I need to solve to be better so that it reflects better on me. So that outwardly, somebody on Instagram can tell me, you're doing such a good job. Or the soccer mom next to me tells me, you have great kids. That feels good when it happens, but that doesn't preserve the connection between me and my children. That's not the relationship barometer. Whether somebody from the outside world thinks that our performance is good, it's about the small moments with my children, whether or not they feel safe enough, secure enough, sound enough to be themselves in front of me without judgment, without fear of a backlash. This trip to Telluride showed me so much more about how I'm still actively in process of healing what's within me so that I have more capacity to be for my children, so that they can be themselves without fear of repercussion. I don't have necessarily a tip or a trick or this sound advice for this podcast episode, but what I want to reiterate is that the perception of others, the judgments of others, the unsolicited advice from others who have no idea your past and the hard work you're putting in now and the effort you're putting forth with your children, they are not correlated. And that has nothing to do with your value, your worth, your heart, who you are, if you have merit. What really, really deeply matters is the connection that you have with your children and your conviction to choose this path. So I just want to applaud you for being here, for listening, for showing up, for doing the work. And I also, at the same time, want to let you know that your performance and your ability to nail it is not indicative of your goodness and your value. Thank you for being here. I'll continue to break down childhood belief systems. If this is you, take a deep breath. You are worthy. Go easy. Go gentle. You are worthy. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to the Response Able Parenting Podcast. If you like what you heard, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. If you know someone who would benefit from this podcast, I'd be honored if you'd share the episode with them. Until next time, know that you are enough. You are capable. You've made it through all of your hardest days, and we will keep growing on this parenting journey together.